Believe it or not, yes me, little old me, who for some reason has skills in art, programming, video editing, and well, now that I start to list it all out, it sounds like I'm bragging. But anyway, I also know how to dance. And not just like at the club, but like literally ballet. I have over a decade of experience, like 14 or 15 years, which doesn't mean I'm good, but yeah, I did that. And then one day I quit and started wishing I was doing it again. Because as much as I hated to admit it, I missed it. Because I kind of enjoyed it and liked it. Which would probably shock my kid self, because at the beginning of my journey, picking dance was the lesser of the other evils. As a kid, I hated sports. And honestly, now that I look back on it, I think I just hated being forced to do things. Pressure tends to sour experiencing things. And also, I think I just hated exercise. Who likes getting sweaty? Am I right? Even adults hate exercise, so. Anyway, yeah, the thing was, my mom, being a loving parent who wants their kid to be healthy, basically said, you have to do some kind of exercise or else. And after being forced to try basketball, soccer, martial arts, swimming, tennis, and dance, I chose dance. I forgot why exactly. It was something about how it sucked the least, that's all I can really remember. And with that, my dance journey began. And as a kid, I threw a few fits, wishing I wasn't there, making several snide comments to my teacher saying, well, you know, I didn't really want to be there anyway. And I was overall a bit of a brat. And instead of that actually working and making my mom pull me out of class, that just got shaken out of me with lectures from my teachers and my mom and so on, and I was essentially forced to keep dancing, because according to my mom, I still had to do some sort of sport. And I remember being the worst at it among my peers. I was always late to class, and I was always grumpy, and it was like that for a while, until it wasn't. What made me change, you might be asking? Well, honestly, probably getting good did. Even if I didn't like showing up because I was obligated to, by showing up, I learned stuff, even if I didn't want to, and got some skills. I could do leaps, turns, pirouettes. I even got some trophies winning second place at a competition once or twice, and surprise, surprise, I eventually found that dance could sometimes be fun. There was something about the movement and being so focused in on it that in the moment I found myself enjoying the act of it. But boy, it was a slow process. I can still remember being at the very end of a competition as the competition announcer finished their awards, blasting music in the gym with everyone there, all the other studios, kids and teachers and whatnot. And they were all just grooving for fun, you know, just dancing. However, I just stood there. At that moment, one of my teachers was like, hey, you know, go dance with everyone else, you know, for fun. Dance for fun. It was so weird. I think back then, I knew that doing that would have been me admitting that a part of me wanted to do this thing and enjoyed it, and I felt mixed. So I didn't dance with everyone. But after a while of having this tumultuous relationship with dance, it found its place in my heart as a beautiful, wonderful craft that I can't help but revere. One distinct memory sticks out. It was the end of class one day as I sat down along with my other fellow peers to watch some professional dancers who were teaching me at the time perform the pas de deux from Nutcracker in full costume. I totally said that wrong, by the way. Anyway, the music was set, and they began. Silence washed over the few of us that were there as the ballerina's tutu glittered under the artificial lights. I watched them perform supported lifts and pirouettes, and I was in awe at the relative ease it looked like they danced with. Every movement was elegant and precise, the very definition of ballet in my head, and I remember myself thinking about a similar duet I was doing with my brother at the time, and quietly knowing that what was being performed in front of me was infinitely harder than it looked. And as someone who had been dancing for years by that point, I would say the experience was just magical. There was something about being able to have a unique insight into the pains and struggles that they must have gone through to achieve the skill in that duet, and it made me tear up a bit. Honestly, I found ballet to be a boring, necessary fundamental, but at that moment, I couldn't help but be in awe. I had seen something that probably way fewer people got to watch the way I had, just a few feet away. It's something that people usually paid to view on a whole stage, But here it was, a performance inside a practice room, just for us, the people who happened to be there. However, as time passed, my peers started leaving the classes, going to other studios, or quitting entirely. And at some point, I hit a breaking point. I had realized by that time that I valued and treasured many other things and had other aspirations and priorities other than dance, with dance really being at the bottom of my list compared to everything else. And since I found that I didn't want to do dance for a career even temporarily, I had found the lectures about skipping class here or there by my dance teacher to be really frustrating. It didn't feel like she understood me. She talked to me like I should go and was obligated to go to class, but, a part of me was like, I don't really owe you anything. I don't owe you my attendance, I'm paying for your class. I have a life outside of it, so I left, and I went somewhere that was a bit more accepting with me skipping here or there, but with that happening, sometimes I'd miss a week or two, and then it was a month, and at some point I just stopped altogether. But just because I stopped didn't mean a part of me didn't want to go back to it. I'd listen to the radio and think up choreography. I'd watch K-pop dancers on YouTube, and then after going to my little sister's recital, I decided that, hey, it might not be so bad to go back and do this thing again. I didn't want to just abandon dance, I still want to enjoy it, and maybe even learn more things here and there. And so I bit the bullet and did. And honestly, my first class back was actually not that bad. The only awkward thing is that I'm the only adult there, which makes it very funny and embarrassing when I see the more talented 15-year-olds, which becomes even more awkward when I sometimes get confused for being 15 myself. I'm 20, by the way. Anyway, it was a fun time, and I'm glad I did it again. And, well, it's funny. A similar deja vu struck me again at my classes in present day, because at the end of the class, the teacher had the dancers that I barely knew perform their solos. It was still wonderful, and there's cool dance moves that I never got to see at my oldest studio, and I found myself thinking, there's always something new to learn when seeing someone else dance. And now, I guess, as much as it pained me to admit as a kid, and even as a teen, I love dance, and I want to keep doing it. And as a person who takes on way too many things, and has promised to do way less, I've only been doing it once a week in the morning on a Saturday, so it doesn't really eat into much time that I'd be doing anything else. I think that's reasonable, and also I probably should be doing exercise anyway, but anyway, yeah, I want to do it for the sake of it, and that's enough for now. So yeah, bye!